Hey, you're listening to Don't Lie to Your Life Coach podcast with Kim Arrington. I'm Kim Arrington. I'm a life coach, a weight loss coach, an author, and a badass passionate about helping you connect back to your most authentic self. Join me here each week so I can coach you on how to think all those juicy thoughts that get you feeling your absolute best and taking some big ass action. Coaching has changed my life, and it can change your life too. I'm here to give you real life solutions to create a life you'll love. Because the truth is, boo, you ain't just got problems, you got options. Can I tell y'all something funny? Before you get your hey, okay? What's so funny is, my camera, this is why y'all get different angles if you're on YouTube, because my camera has a little attitude, and I know there's something I can go in and click for it to come on, but it has an attitude, and it comes on. If I record more than one podcast at a time, it comes on the second podcast. That's why y'all get different angles. Also, I have on my dangles. It's so funny. When I was a singer, I used to hate wearing earrings that gave me extra like rhythm or like I could hear because it would distract me. I'm super duper auditory, which means I learn by hearing, but I also am visual. I learn by seeing too. But this is why, and honestly, I may have forgotten to record this on the cloud. So you might get a fresh Kim Arrington on this too. Because with Zoom, when you record on it, if you don't record on the cloud, your name shows up on the screen because Zoom is like, I didn't plan on you using me to record podcasts, but I love recording in Zoom because it's so easy to edit when you're doing video versus audio. Said no audio person ever. I know you're like, this is probably going to end up getting cut. You're probably not going to hear all this ramble and rose, okay? So today I'm coming to you. This podcast means so much to me because I told y'all in 2023, we are talking about absolute commitment to ourselves. And this podcast is going to be all about the real reasons you're overloving people. Okay. What is overloving people? Well, I call it codependency. I'm going to give you a little bit more about that definition later. But if you feel like you have been stuck in a cycle of overlove, remember kimarrington.com. You can get on my waiting list. Overloving often leads to overeating. So if you need help with weight loss, I'm working on that course. I'm sure it'll be out. It'll be out very soon. So go to kimarrington.com/weight loss. Remember, y'all, the stuff you need is always in the show notes. Oh yeah, let me ask one more ask. I just did a podcast before this on asking for help. One more ask. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, subscribe and ring the bell so you get notified when I put up a new podcast episode. Because remember, the podcast episodes are audio and they are visual, okay? So the real reason you're overloving people. Oh my God. Hey. I think the real reason you're overloving people is you're desperate to overlove yourself. If I'm going to put my money on anything, overloving yourself can get you so much of what you want. Overloving the people is going to get you frustrated, disappointed, angry, mad as fuck. Okay? You don't need to listen to the rest of the podcast. That was the answer. Overlove yourself. Overlove yourself. I think you're desperate. I think we are desperate to give ourselves the love we rain down in pushy ways onto others. Okay? This does not come from a bad place. It comes from a wounded place. That's the codependency piece. And as someone who is in recovery for codependency, I know that learning to let go of over-loving people will absolutely change your life. So let's talk about it, okay? I know you guys always hear the same answer for so many of my podcasts. You are neglecting that connection to yourself. If you are over-loving people, you cannot be having the deepest connection possible with yourself, okay? So over-loving people is codependency. Codependency to me is the world's biggest addiction. It is often passed down in families. So that means it's a learned behavior. It is a means for survival. Someone who is codependent is always looking around to see how they can remain safe. It happens in dysfunctional families. So a codependent often, and so ask yourself, is this you? Is this you? You have a hard time deciphering your feelings from others, meaning that if someone is sad or angry or happy or whatever, you automatically take on those feelings. You may be codependent, okay? Codependency is whenever someone else's problems come up, I drop everything and make my life about trying to solve those problems. And as a matter of fact, codependents are perfect magnets for addicts. So alcoholics, I mean, we could go on with the list, but in general, codependents want to secretly solve for the behavior of the person who they are over loving. And it becomes a mission, but the issue is that most codependents are so angry about putting everyone else's needs first that, you don't get away, like no one gets away. It's not a happy home with them either, because there's a certain amount of them taking it, and then they eventually erupt, okay? Codependents don't know how to feel their own feelings. They don't know how to care for themselves, so they care for others. And alternatively, a codependent is so busy making life good for the other person that they forget themselves. They forget their desires. And so the person who is the foremost expert, I believe, in codependency is Melody Beatty. I don't know if it's Beatty or Beatty. I will definitely put her books down here because her books have, I think, saved my life. The Language of Letting Go and Codependent No More. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I will link those in the show notes. Yes. You're overloving because you're scared of a world where there is no one to overlove. You're scared to be alone. But I always like to tell people this, with the exception of a few situations, being alone is an unconscious or a conscious choice. There are always people who want to share our worlds, but the people we have to convince to stay in our worlds are often the ones we are overloving, okay? Let me say that again. You're scared you'll be alone, but being alone is a conscious or unconscious choice. There are always people who want to share our worlds, but let me say that again. You're scared you're going to be alone, but being alone is generally an unconscious or a conscious choice. There are always people who want to share our worlds. The people we have to convince to share our world, we are overloving. Okay? Codependents never believe there's enough. There's not enough love. There's not enough time. There's not enough acceptance. There's not enough validation. And they live in that lack. So they think they have to do heavy labor in every relationship to see that they're worthy to receive these things. And they don't. For every codependent, there is a relationship that will be so painful, so gut-wrenching, that instead of enduring that painful experience again, they may be open to changing their lives. And it is possible to change the way you relate to people and to change your life. It is fucking hard work, but it is the worthiest of work. The other reason why you're overloving people is you're trying to import your needs instead of doing the difficult work of giving yourself what you're looking for. That means you're trying to get someone to do for you what you cannot do for yourself. Loving yourself is sometimes tough. Woo! Sometimes very tough. Loving yourself means sometimes you have to make very hard decisions. You have to step away from a situation, a person, a place, one of the nouns, to step towards yourself. Loving yourself means you realize that boundaries are not ways you even keep yourself separate. Boundaries are ways that you recognize who you are and what you are, and you're unwilling to compromise that. You have needs that you can give yourself. If you have had a lifelong pattern of responding to the needs of others and not yourself, a coach can help. Sometimes it's not possible to do this work on our own. Sometimes you need help. A coach can help. You're scared and confused, and love is something you do to distract yourself from the unknown. You're scared about your future. You're scared about your present. You used to love being a nurse. Now you don't want to be a nurse, but ooh, you met a hottie at the bar. And you are going to be obsessed about the hottie because you do not want to touch, oh my God, I did this schooling. I'm still paying on my loans and I don't want to be a nurse anymore. You're scared and confused. And holding on to whoever said person is allows you an escape. If you are using relationships purely as a form of escape, what else does that sound like, y'all? Addiction? So, not to say our relationships don't provide all types of things for us, and they're important, and we are relational people. We're meant to be with people. But if we are using, and these are never healthy relationships either. Let me just say that. Let me call a thing a thing. These are never healthy relationships we're using to distract ourselves. Because a healthy relationship doesn't really distract you. It's a part of your life. So that would be different if it was a healthy. You distracting yourself with, no, you're distracting yourself with Craig, who got baby mama drama, who can't keep a job, who might be an addict himself. Okay. This goes along with the last one. A new identity. You are overloving because a new identity is wanting to be born, and you are holding on tight to the old identity of, your high school boo. You don't want to step into that new identity. Hell no. The person who is like, I'm thinking of, this is gross, Alien, where like the alien pops out, like you are the alien popping out. That is your new identity. That's kind of gross. Sorry, Sigourney Weaver. But that identity is like slam dancing against you now, right? It's like it was quieter and now it's louder and it's louder and it's louder and it's louder. It's affecting your sleep and it's affecting how you show up in your relationships. It's affecting how you show up with yourself. You want something new. You want to become something new. Midlife is when this happens. You want a new you, baby. And you are holding on to overloving them kids, overloving material things. Or yeah, these can be material things too. These can be inanimate objects as well. You are overloving this identity you had as this pillar of the community, and you want to be something different. You're trying to chase a time of least responsibility that's long past. So you are over loving because you remember a time where y'all, this is called the 20s or the teens when you were in high school. You are remembering the time where you were carefree, you didn't have a worry in the world, and Facebook just connected you with Billy Bob. And you are remembering all your feelings. And Billy Bob, he ain't changed. He is the same person. Now, I'm not talking about people who've changed and they've connected and it's a healthy adult relationship, but you are trying to escape again. I could have just said this is the escape. This is the escape route. You are over loving other people because you're not going after your desires. So if you can really be just so much about your kids, you do not have to go after your desire to have more fun, your desire to belong to yourself as a person, your desire to go to adult summer camp, your desire to take 6 months off of a job and do whatever. You aren't going after your desires. And by the way, desires don't have to even be that big. Like just having a night to yourself, a few hours a week to yourself. It can be any of that, okay? You're over loving because you're ready to let go of a pattern, but you're still swinging for the fences. You are ready to let go of being a people pleaser. I was just talking to my friend. She's like, I'm a people pleaser. I was like, no, you're not. That's why you're feeling this tension. You're not a people pleaser. You're not a people pleaser. And you're letting go of this pattern. And you don't want to overlove this friend who wants you to be different. Oh yeah, you can overlove your friends. You say you want this friend to be happy, but really you want to let go of the responsibility of her happiness. And I was like, I wasn't going to say this to you. I was letting you work through it, but now I got to say it, sis. You aren't responsible for anybody's happiness but your own. You're ready to let this pattern go. You are not a people pleaser anymore. By the way, people please ain't pleasing you. I'll put it in the show notes, podcast episode to look at. You are ready to grow. You are ready to go. You are ready to fully embody yourself, being in your body, being in your mind, being in your heart. You don't need that pattern that used to keep you safe because you actually keep yourself safe now, but you're scared to let it go. Stop over loving people to not change. Stop over loving people because you're scared that you'll be solitary. Stop it. You know you're choosing suffering when you overlove a person because a person who you overlove is going to disappoint you because you ain't supposed to be that invested in nobody. You know you're choosing suffering when you overlove a person because a person who is overloved feels the pushiness of your love and they are going to push it away. Pushy love means you get pushed away. You know you're overloving someone when you're trying to keep them from feeling failure. This shows up a lot with our kids. You know you're overloving someone where you are so disappointed, like debilitating disappointed when something happens with them. And there's only one cure. There's only one cure to this overlove. You are desperate to overlove yourself. What would it look like if you put all that love for others, that overloving for others, to the self of you? That's your homework. What would it look like if you did the thing you always wanted to do, if you became the person you wanted to be, if you or even just accepted who you are? What does it look like? You are desperate to overlove yourself. See y'all next week.
Are you feeling what you just heard? Good, good. Repeat after me. You don't have to figure it out on your own again anymore. I'm here to help. Head over to KimArrington.com and download my free video series dedicated to getting you feeling your best right now. Look around, there's some good stuff waiting on you. Got questions? Well, we're always talking on the socials, so find me on YouTube, Insta, and the book. Don't be shy, y'all. Go listen to another episode or join me here the same time next week. Finally, don't keep good shit to yourself. Share this with a homie that could use some help too. Remember, we're not lying to ourselves anymore. We're not lying to our doctors. And you damn sure don't lie to your life coach.